My name is Kelly Calhoun, and I am a historic preservation consultant and licensed real estate agent in the state of Louisiana. Lately, I've just been calling myself preservation agent because it's a lot of words to try to fit into something. And my business is called Calhoun Preservation. It was not a linear path. I think everyone in preservation kind of came in from a different angle, different experiences. Mine came in through sustainable architecture. Um, I was very interested in understanding, why are we tearing down buildings when there's so many that we could reuse and kind of adapt with all these new technologies. And through that avenue, I was able to figure out that, wait a minute, historic preservation's it's like a thing. I can study this. And so I did a lot of research and went to graduate school, got my degree, and then from there it was this series of events, saying yes to everything that came my way and seeing what stuck. And I created my own niche within historic preservation. No one said, okay, you're going to apply for the job as the historic preservation consultant and real estate agent. I had to come to that idea myself. I had to realize what my strengths were, and based on my experiences, that's what this came out as. So for my master's degree, I have a master's in preservation studies from the Tulane School of Architecture. And I came to Tulane because I'm a fourth generation Tulane grad. My great-grandfather and my grandfather went there for medical school. My father went there for business school. And when I asked about the architecture world, I was like, well, how's the architecture school there? They're like, well, we don't know, but the medical school's good if you want to try that. And I was like, okay, clearly I'm gonna have to figure this out myself. And it was interesting when I was touring the school, my grandfather was with me, and he's like, Kelly, see this room where all your desks are? I was like, uh-huh. He's like, that's where we used to keep the cadavers. And I was like, oh my God. And so it was just all these emotional connections, and I was getting excited. And to this day, I'm a huge Tulane advocate and fan. Honestly, it is, you've got to be flexible if you're a consultant. I'm self-employed, so I do have a regimen of I'm waking up at 6:30 and doing these tasks throughout the day. But depending on whether I have to talk with clients or go on site or go into Zoom meetings, it changes the structure of the day. But I usually, at the very beginning of the day, make a list of accomplishments that I want to do on a piece of paper and then scratch them off throughout the day. So everything's entirely new. I do a lot of archival research. I write a lot of reports, which I never thought I would be doing, but they're incredibly fun because the subject matter is so gratifying. You're studying history, you're doing interviews with interesting people, interesting building owners, interesting people who have had an impact in their community. So I constantly get exposed to those kinds of people. But yeah, I mean, every day it's just adaptable. You know, a lot of the time you end up correcting the myths of historic preservation, especially in the economic incentives portion. For example, when I do historic tax credits for a client, or do a National Register nomination, a lot of the times they think the National Register will tell me, the designation will tell me that I can't renovate my house. So a lot of that conversation is it's actually an honorary position. It's telling our country that your building is worthy of, note. Now, of course, if you want to get some kind of financial incentive from the government, then yeah, you have to follow some guidelines. But once people understand some of the rules, then they're on board. But a lot of those challenges are at first kind of like smoothing out. I mean, I really should just like bring a little booklet to every single client that comes in and be like, here's some common questions that I get about this program or this field. Because a lot of people seem to have those same kinds of questions. And it's gratifying in a way to be able to be part of correcting that misunderstanding or being a connection to someone. Even if they don't quite understand what I said the first time, they can reach out at another time or tell someone to reach out to me or to someone else that I've referenced. But yeah, that's been the biggest challenge. Well, I am such a social person, and the gratifying part to me is connecting with people and communities and hearing their stories. Being that first level of connection and education, it has been incredibly gratifying. And you feel honored to be part of their story making experience, even if I'm just doing a historic tax credit and they're really just in it because they want their 20% credit from the state and 20% credit from the federal government. They still have a narrative and a story, and I get to travel to their small towns and see something I've never seen before. I get to go to sites and places and meet people that I never would have thought was possible, and it's incredibly gratifying to see how different people from different areas start to connect whenever there's a similar topic at hand. A lot of the time you get very passionate people with historic preservation, and I just love to sit back and watch. That question gets asked to me, I feel like, on a weekly basis. Um, there's always someone who's very interested, and I say, first of all, you should volunteer your time to an organization or several organizations and start to feel out how you fit into the industry. What kind of talents do you have? Are you really good with math? Maybe the economics incentive portion is for you. Are you more of a people person and you want to do like social media? There's a place for that in historic preservation too. But you have to be exposed, and that really means putting yourself in places where those people are going to be. There's conferences, there's events. Now we have a lot of educational programming online. Reaching out to people can be the easiest thing. There's so many avenues. You can text, you can call, you can email, you can show up. The more people see your face, the more they trust you to want to be involved. And if you tell them, I want to do that, most of the time, if they'll find a place for you. But it does take that initiative. Now, of course, you could also get a degree from a university if you want to do that path. But there's a lot of other ways that you can get involved. But you do have to put yourself out there and find where your strengths are. Preservation success is almost an everyday experience with clients who I feel like I've touched their lives or educated them. Those small successes end up becoming a really big positive experience. Becomes a domino effect of positive events happening in a community. District surveys are very gratifying. There's a few neighborhoods that have received almost zero attention. And for the first time, someone's coming in and telling them, wow, your neighborhood is worthy of note. I want to study your architecture. And it inspires people to be like really proud of where they live and to learn more about it. You end up affecting people's mindset on a large scale whenever you do those kinds of projects. Recently, that's been very gratifying for me. I've lived in like 14 different cities, and especially growing up, I felt you could see how people connected to certain environments and buildings, and the streetscape had a lot to do with that. It's sad to see the time, like how much time like a street changes because of demolition, because of negligent maintenance, insensitive renovations. Seeing some place, whether it be like an entire downtown, a street, one particular building that's just received that kind of neglect, those are the biggest ones that you really want to be a part of correcting. Well, with COVID, it actually allowed me more opportunity to catch up on a lot of archival research. A lot of times, whenever you have to be in several places throughout the week, it's nice where you can slow down and say, I can be in this one location. I will say an unexpected positive has been how easy it's been to connect with clients who are elsewhere. Now, Zoom and other kinds of platforms are becoming more easily learned by people of all ages. A lot of my clients, they vary from all ages, and everyone's learning the same programs. Communication's becoming a lot easier, and that's not something I expected. I expected to have things fall apart, but people just figured out a different way to move things along. It's a lot slower now, but things are moving forward. Something that really does help with guidance in historic preservation is being a culture bearer from wherever you are. That honestly helps guide people to think of things in a certain way. So having that kind of mindset of being proud of where you are, learning about the city's history, the region's history, and being able to communicate that to people is very, very powerful. So obviously that takes a lot of books, but there's articles that have been written ever since early American history about all places, and I recommend going back and reading as much as you can, but reaching out to organizations. There is a historic Office of Historic Preservation in nearly every single state, and they have so many resources and really want to help. You can even research on Google about places around you. There's so many talks that are available online. You can be in North Dakota and learn something about Tallahassee and just log in. But you have to reach out for it.